So I looked at a map to see what street this house could have been on that I exposed in part 27 of this series. And I quickly saw that the only road it could possibly be on was a road called Fish and Game Road. And that was the next right off of Longwoods Road after Wyman Road. So Fish and Game Road is about a half mile to a mile past the trailer park entrance. So Fish and Game Road is where the Fish and Game Club of Deering, New Hampshire is located. And they have a basic website, and they state that they have established themselves to keep a 92-acre property undeveloped. So you'll first come to a tiny pond with a sign that says Glen Crane Memorial Trout Pond, kids fishing only, 16 and under. So if I were to take my children fishing, this is definitely not the type of pond that I would bring them to. So it's hard to imagine that this place is a good place to go fishing, or why anyone would go out to a 92-acre nature reserve and then choose to stand right next to the road and go fishing in a little pond, not much larger than a bathtub, located right next to a shooting range. So this is kind of odd. Next is the gun range. They have a couple of target ranges. One is for rifles and one is for pistols, which is what they state on their website. On the left is what appears to be a red storehouse or concession stand. And then there is a little parking lot. A little ways up, the road splits, and there is a sign that says Clubhouse with an arrow pointing left. So I stayed straight, and the next thing that I saw was a sign that states, "Never mind the dog, beware of owner." And there is a picture of a pointed gun. On the left, there is a stack of wood on the ground, and in the background is a wooden structure and something that looks like an A-frame. So I guess that this may be used for hanging and skinning deers. There is also a relatively large house, and it is facing a large 3-car garage that is in the style of a barn. There are no windows on the barn, and it looks very enclosed. On the far end of the driveway is a rack, and it appears to hold kayaks and canoes. There is also a room or something built onto the side of the barn, the exterior of which is covered with buoys. I looked these up, and these are lobster buoys. Next, on the right is a trailer or ranch-styled house with a separate garage, and they have a satellite dish. I do not see any power lines leading to any of these buildings, so it's most likely that they have underground power lines. There is also this gray trailer box of some type. I do not know exactly what it is. My guess is that it fits into the back of something like a pickup truck so that you could transport livestock in an enclosed space. Next, you'll see another safety zone sign, only this one is red. The one on the hiking trail in Park 27 was yellow, and it basically says that this is a safety zone and no hunting past this point. Then there is a stretch of rural dirt road, and there are no houses for a little while. So coming up on the left-hand side is a black house, and there appears to be a little fire damage to that house. On first glance, it looks a lot worse due to the fact that it's covered with a black tar paper. But if you look closely at the house, there appears to be a little fire damage only above this window. If you look at the window frame and the wood directly above the window, it looks charred. Or possibly there was a fire inside the house and smoke was coming out the window and burning or discoloring the side of the house. So when you drive by the house, it does not look like there is a lot of fire damage inside the house, but I really could not tell. I was able to see in the windows a little bit, and I really could not tell if there was any fire damage inside the house. I did see a ladder that possibly led to the top floor. But if you look here, you'll see toward the top of the house, right in the middle, the boards have been ripped out. So if you notice, the wood used to build this house are a series of planks instead of the larger pieces of plywood that are usually used, which come in sections that are 4 feet high and 8 feet wide. So this house must have been built some time ago for them to be using these planks of wood. The exterior of the house appears to be covered with some type of tar paper. And again, this is a very old thing to use. In more recent times, houses are framed out and then the walls are constructed with big pieces of plywood. And then over the plywood, you cover the house with something like Tyvek house wrap. And Tyvek house wrap is like a very thin plastic tarp that comes in these large rolls. And you cover the exterior of the house with the Tyvek house wrap. And then you cover that with siding, most often something like vinyl siding. And that will protect the exterior of the house. So they have these planks of wood that are covered with tar paper. And then if you look on the other side of the house, you will see another type of wall covering that has been painted to look like bricks. So it looks extremely thin. Some people may argue this tan brick exterior is veneer siding, but it looks extremely thin. I think this is way too thin to be veneer. So here is an example of brick veneer. So this is going to do very little to insulate the house and protect the house from weather and moisture. So my guess is that somebody was sold a house that should have been condemned and not put up for sale until major renovations and repairs were done. The sad thing is that there appears to have been some remodeling work done. These windows look like they may have been replaced. Like they got some used windows that were better than what they had in there. And they put in some newer windows. There is a new metal roof. And if you look in the side yard, you will see this disc type swing So my guess is that these people had kids. So it was a family who bought this house. So my guess is that they did some repairs, replaced some of the windows, and then they tried to do some work on the outside of the house, probably because this house wasn't winterized and a lot of cold air was getting into the house. So it looks like they tried to cover up the exterior of the house with some type of covering for the inside of houses. At best, I'll say that this is something for the interior, like some sort of interior veneer that people would use to decorate the inside of their houses, to make their walls look like they're covered with bricks. But for some reason, it's being used to cover the exterior of the house. So it seems like they were getting some very bad construction advice, and whoever was selling them this stuff or recommending that they put it on the outside of their house was giving them some very poor advice, because what they needed was some regular siding and not something like this. So doing this would probably create problems insulating this house or protecting it from moisture, whereupon mold will build up on this house and eventually get inside. So however long ago this happened, it looks like another game to sabotage somebody's house, to ruin their life or their health, and then get them out of a house so that their next step is on the street. Across the street from that house is an old truck and a trailer and a portable toilet that is roped shut with a band. The portable toilet suggests that there is not running water or septic outlets in the area. So it's likely that this house maybe did not even have an inside bathroom. And maybe this was their portable toilet that their neighbor dragged across the street. All right, next to the portable toilet is a mobile home trailer with a wooden ramp leading up to the door. And in the back of this trailer are two piles of dirt or sand. And then next to that is a garage. It has a no trespassing sign on the side door. It has a red stain on the wall. And there is a dump truck parked sideways in front of the two garage doors. Across the street from that are a couple of old trucks and what looks like a small excavator under a blue tarp. There is a red truck with an extended cab and a cover for the truck's bed. And there is black junk all along the side of the red truck, which may be tar or something. On the right is a lot with an RV mobile home. In the back of the property is some type of structure or possibly something to do with a camper trailer. However, it appears to have wooden beams on the top that support a roof. So based on everything else that I've seen around here, I would not be surprised if that thing has its own address and is listed for sale on the Coldwell Banker Realty site. Anything to get some more real people into this area so they too could live in this safety zone. At the end of this road, straight ahead, there is a sign that says private drive, speed limit 10. And at that point, I could see that it was the same house that was exposed in part 27 of this series. There is also another property with a trailer and a garage on the right. And at that point, I turned around and drove back down Fish and Game Road. across the street, parked on the side of that garage, is a red school bus. However, when you zoom in on it, there is a rear sign that reads, "Caution, horse on board." Now, I cannot see the other side of this van and see if possibly it has been modified to transport horses in. However, I do not think this is too common. A red colored mini school bus with a regular rear door with a sign that says "Caution, horse on board." Whatever the purpose of this is, it looks very odd. I looked it up on the internet, and most normal horse trailers need a wide entrance in the rear and often a ramp to let the horse in and out of the trailer. So I really do not know how this mini school bus could also serve as a way to transport a horse. Now, I did not notice this when I was up there. However, after viewing the videotape, I saw what looked like a white decorative bear hanging on a tree. It's something like a lawn ornament, I guess. And then above it is what I think is another lawn ornament. It could be another bear, but it is colored black. So after seeing this in the recording and zooming in on it and slowing the video down so I could make out what it is, it had an ominous effect, something like a foreboding sign of what has happened in this area. So after this property has been vacated and slowly destroyed, the nearby hunting club / housing compound now has an abandoned house in the area. And I do not think that it's just a coincidence that the abandoned house is essentially the next door neighbor of the little house that was exposed in Part 27 with the strange signs and everything all over their property. So if somebody is walking on the hiking trails behind the trailer park and sees the safety zone sign that leads them to that little house, they could either go right and wind up in that small field, or they could go left and wind up here in this very poor and isolated area. And they will see the little abandoned house and all the junk scattered around. And they may assume that nobody will care if they spend a few nights in this abandoned house to get out of the rain. The nearby portable toilet may also look okay compared to using the bathroom in the woods. So after staying the night in this very poor and isolated area, they could easily be attacked by anyone who wants to sneak up on them in the middle of the night. And these people may even be yelling at them that they deserve all of this because they are trespassing on somebody else's private property. So they are the ones who are at fault, and they deserve all this trouble that they've caused. So these homeless people could disappear into an area like this. So it appears to me that this is another trap to lure homeless people into an area where they could fall victim to a group of people that participate in human trafficking and snuff film rings. One last thing that I will address is that there are 3 no trespassing signs in this area. One is when you are driving up into this area and it's on a tree on the left-hand side. So if you notice, the no trespassing sign is not quite in the abandoned house's yard. You would think if the occupants of the area were intent on keeping people out of the abandoned house, they would post the no trespassing sign right on the abandoned house itself if not on the tree directly in front of the abandoned house. That way, there would be no confusion whether or not somebody owns this abandoned building and wants everybody else to stay out of it. The current placement of the no trespassing sign kind of suggests that the people in the area want to leave it up to others' discretion whether or not that house is off limits. It's like they are being unclear, almost on purpose, to create issues where people may trespass. So based on everything else I've found in Hillsborough, this also suggests something like a trap. There is also a no trespassing sign right next to the portable toilet, which is across the street from the abandoned house. And the third no trespassing sign is on this person's garage, which may be the same property. So if that's the case, the person that lives in this trailer might own the property all around the area. They own the garage, they own the land where the portable toilet is on, and they own the abandoned building across the street. So for some reason, this property owner who lives in this trailer has decided not to post a no trespassing sign on the only place where they may have an issue with people trespassing, which is the abandoned house. So it appears to be something like a setup. At the intersection, I am now turning right, going in the direction of the sign that said Clubhouse. There was a man walking a dog, and the dog appears to be something like an Australian cattle dog. Down on the right is an open-faced barn with two RV campers parked underneath it. There is also an older model van. The van appears to have been spray painted black over red paint. For some reason, someone has taken what looks like pink spray paint and has spray painted the front grille and bumper of the van, but only a little bit. And the license plate is 293-1335. The road ends at a cul-de-sac with a brown building marked Fish and Game Club Deering. rewinding the video and zooming in on the background while slowing the video will show the side of the large gray house. And then behind that is a small gray cabin. And then there is a structure, a wooden structure on stilts. And this may be something used for hanging deer or game that has been killed. There are also what appears to be stacks of chairs. There is a covered pavilion with a back enclosed area, and then a nondescript brown building with a sign that says Fish and Game Club, Deering.